Hi everyone and welcome to today's info session. We will be focusing on our product expense management today and everything you can do on a mobile. Let's see. The guidelines for the info session today is per usual, your microphone and cameras are turned off, meaning that you won't be able to ask any questions verbally. If you have any questions, we have a chat function, and you can find this chat function at the top part of the screen. I will show you in the next slide where you can find it. And this is open for everyone, so please don't ask any private questions there. If you have anything more private, then please reach out to me or your support for help. The info session is recorded, so you can watch it afterwards. You will, after this session, receive an email, and in this email, you will get links to info regarding today's product that we're talking about. But you will also receive the playlist of all the spring info sessions that we had previously, and today's recording, of course, as well. And the duration for the session today is 25 minutes. And this is where you can find the chat function. So at the top part of the screen, you see a little icon with a question mark in it. That's where you find it. And this is the agenda for today. So before we begin, I'd like to set a little context for today's session. So when most people think about expense management on a mobile, they typically think about one thing, which is taking a picture of a receipt. And that's certainly an important part of the process. The mobile app can actually do much more than that. So today we will explore a number of practical features that can help you save time. It can reduce manual work and then manage expenses more efficiently while you're on the go, of course. And rather than focusing on every available feature in the solution, we will today follow a typical business trip from start to finish and see how different mobile capabilities can support you throughout this journey. And now you may be thinking that business travel is not a regular part of your day-to-day work, which is perfectly fine. The reason why we're using a business trip as an example today is to simply allow us to showcase several mobile features in a realistic scenario. So many of the tips and capabilities that we're looking at today can be used in a wide range of situations. So whether it's submitting a receipt after lunch with colleagues, registering mileage, documentation of customer meetings, and so forth. You will find some tips today useful, I think. So even if you're not traveling, you'll hopefully pick up a few practical tips that can make your expense reporting faster and easier. And today, let's imagine that I'm traveling from Sweden to visit our office in Denmark and to see how much of the process that I can handle directly from the mobile app. So we will talk a little bit about mobile productivity tip first, but then also capturing receipts on the go, managing meetings and entertainment expenses, tracking mileage and travel, of course, and then submitting expense and then wrapping up the trip. And then also a little tip about managing expectations and tracking your submissions as well. So, like many business trips, this journey will include transportation, meetings, meals, and a number of receipts that need to be submitted. So, before we even start the scenario and leave Sweden, then I would like to share a quick tip. So, most users open the app and then create a new expense in the app. But if you're on your mobile home screen, you can simply press and hold the expense management app icon, and this will give you quick access to common actions such as creating a new expense directly or new mileage and so forth. So it's a small feature, but one that can actually save time throughout the day and reduce number of clicks when you need to get started with a new expense. So now let's pretend that we're on our way to Denmark, and throughout this trip, we'll receive receipts in different formats maybe. So maybe a travel ticket will arrive as a PDF by email that you need to share, or perhaps a hotel confirmation is stored in our files, or maybe we simply take a photo of a paper receipt when we buy breakfast. So the good news is that expense management gives you several ways to handle these different kind of documents into the system, other than just scanning the receipts directly in the app. So we can share PDF documents directly from email, Teams, or file storage, for example. You can upload photos from your photo library on your mobile. And if you receive, for example, a receipt as an HTML email, then you can even take a screenshot. You can copy that screenshot and then paste it directly into a new expense in the app. And in all of these scenarios, expense management help you identify key information, then such as amount, date, description, and so forth. So it will help you. So let's have a look at these three different ways of creating an expense in the formats I just mentioned. Of course, you can always take a photo directly in the app, but this is just different kinds of ways that you can use the app to capture and create expense. So first, let's have a look at when sharing a PDF on the left here. You simply hit the share button on your device and then choose the expense management app, and then expense management fetches the information. So that's how easy it is to share a PDF. In the middle, you might simply have taking a photo of your receipt and you have it in the album on your phone. And you simply choose that you want to create an expense in the app, then you click on the plus on the top part of the screen, and then choose the selected photo in your photo album. And that's it. It fetches the information directly as well. And then last, on the right, let's say that I might have an email or any other format that I need to take a screenshot of. And then I can copy that screenshot. So I would take a screenshot, I would copy the screenshot, and then I would go to the expense management app, start creating an expense. And up on the right part of the screen, you have the plus sign, and then you click on paste. And then you need to allow it the first time that you paste the information. But that's how easy it is. So you can share different kinds of formats. Let's say we now arrived in Denmark and I'm heading out to a customer lunch, and capturing the receipts, it's easy, you know that, but now comes a question of how many people attended this lunch, which people were there, and what companies did they represent, and so forth. So maybe many people attended and you feel that it would take time to add them one by one, and maybe you don't remember their names or something like that. So instead of manually entering all of that information, you can use the calendar integration in the app. So by selecting the relevant meeting from your calendar, then the participants can be added automatically to the expense. So for employees who frequently attend customer meetings or lunches or events or anything where you need to add guests, for example, this can help you save some time. So you simply click on the calendar next to employees. You choose what calendar post you want to fetch the participants from, and then you confirm the attendees, and then you can see them under guests. So you can see here employees, and it's a little calendar. You click on that, and then you can see the guests directly after you add them, of course. And this calendar function will only show calendar entries on the date of the receipt, which means that you can find the relevant calendars really easy. So you have the date from the receipt, and then the calendar will only show from that date. And now let's say that this isn't our first visit to Denmark. Perhaps we visit this office every month. So maybe I also have regular meetings with the same customers or colleagues, for example. And in this case, entering the same names and addresses, because you can also do this with addresses, it can become very repetitive. So this is where our function favorites comes in. So frequently used guests can be saved as favorites, and frequently visited locations can also be saved as favorites. And you can also save other things connected to projects, for example. So the next time when we create an expense or mileage claim, for example, we can simply select them from a saved list instead of searching again for the same address or people. So it's a simple feature, but one that can actually remove a lot of time from adding addresses over and over again. And you save by clicking on the star next to the location or the name, for example. You can see it on the screen. And if you want to unsave it, you click on the star again. And then after our meetings, we need to travel between different locations, maybe throughout the day, or maybe I'm traveling home. And this is where the mileage functionality becomes very useful. So when you create a mileage claim, the app can suggest multiple routes available or options available. So for example, there may be different roads, bridges, or ferry routes, and we can easily switch between routes, and the distance will automatically be recalculated. And you switch by pushing the arrows on the map. So you can see here on the screen that you have two arrows, and then the distance will change. And then you can also see that it changes color on the map, so you can see which route it's chosen. And if we're visiting multiple locations during the same day, then we can also continue the trip instead of starting from scratch each time. So you will receive a message when you're trying to submit that, what do you want to do now? Do you want to continue the trip or drive back to the start? And then when the day is over, you can choose to return, for example, then to your starting point, and then your whole trip will be saved to your expense. And now our trip is coming to an end. So during the journey, we've created several expenses. And we have transportation costs, maybe, we have meals, we have mileage, and perhaps a hotel stay or something like that. So instead of submitting each item separately, then you can group everything together in what we call an expense report. And this allows you to collect all of the expenses related, like from this trip in one place and submit them all together. And the tip is to create the report before you go on the trip, because then you can easily add the different expenses to the reports as you go. So on the screen here on the left, you can see how easy it is to create an expense report. You click on the plus sign and then click on expense report. And then when you want to submit an expense, you have a field called expense report. And there you can choose the report that you created. So this also makes the approval process easier, since managers can review the complete trip as a single package rather than multiple separate expenses. So everything can be saved in one report. And before we finish, here's one final topic connected to if you need to handle exceptions, such as private purchase made on a company card. So maybe I used the card to buy something by accident or something like that. So let's say that during this trip, I used it for a personal purchase. And please keep in mind that your company might have policies regarding this. So please keep that in mind. And rather than creating confusion later, I can simply mark the expense as private use. So the system will then handle it through a separate process. So it's a simple feature, but it's a great example about how expense management helps handle like both the standard processes, but also like exceptions like this. And you can see here on the screen that you have a little button called private use that you then can tick if it's private use. And before we wrap up, it's worth mentioning that the examples that we looked at today are just a small subset of what you can do and what you can manage in expense management. And we focus now on a typical business trip because it allows us to showcase this to you, the realistic scenarios. But depending on your organization's setup, the solution can support many other processes as well. So for example, you may use this app for wellness reimbursement, mileage claims, entertainment expenses, per diem reporting, project-related expenses, and much more. So if you're interested in learning more about the capabilities available for you in your environment, then I encourage you to explore our documentation platform, but also to reach out to your support or partner for additional guidance. And this was super fast and easy to explain the different capabilities because it's very easy to use this app. And with that, we now completed trip to Denmark. Through this journey, everything was managed directly from the app, as you saw, from capturing different kinds of formats for receipts or documents to calendar integration, favorites, and so forth. And this was super easy, as you saw, and that's really the goal of expense management, to make expense reporting as simple as possible. And also, do not forget about your history in the app. After you submit your expenses, it's often useful if you want to be able to track or see what happened to them later on. Maybe you want to find an old expense a few months back or something like that. Then you can see this in your history. So within the mobile app, you can view all of your submitted expenses, the reports, and everything in one place. And you can search on filters. For example, you can use dates, but then you can also do it by type and status. So you can, for example, see your expenses or reimbursements, or you can see the status if it's waiting for approval, it's approved, or something like that. But then you can also click on the different types and the different findings you find in your search when you do it, and then you can get more details. So you can see all of the details, you can see comments, for example, when I sent it in and when it was approved, and so forth. So you can see more information there if you want to as well. And if you want to learn more, please visit our documentation platform or reach out. We also have info sessions, and this one was the last one for the spring, but more will come this fall. And I also want to take this opportunity to briefly introduce you to one of Truvio's other products, which is our banking automation. And you can automate parts of the banking and payment process directly in Business Central. And the goal of this is to reduce manual work related to areas such as payments, reconciliation, and cash management, for example. So if you see that you also have a lot of manual work related to banking, payments, and and reconciliation, maybe this is an area worth exploring further. So please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or want to learn more. And I'd also like to thank you all for joining today's session and for joining us throughout the spring of the info sessions. We hope that you find some useful tips and inspiration along the way. And after the session today, as I said, you will receive an email containing links to all of the recordings. And we will be back with a new series of info sessions in the fall, and invitations will be sent out after the summer. So thank you for your time, and we wish you a wonderful summer. And if you have any questions, please reach out. Don't hesitate to reach out. Have a good day, everyone.